What you just heard was a simple piano sound going into the Meraki, an all analog stereo in and stereo out bucket brigade delay. A true rarity nowadays. And this one in particular's got some really trippy routing modes, or feedback paths as they call them, that I want to talk about and dive into today to create a sick texture-based house track. And I'm mainly going to be talking about Ping Pong, also known as PP right here. And that one feeds back from left to right into itself at different time divisions to get some really trippy rhythms, but it can also be ran in parallel or serial modes too, if you're into that. Not to mention just that, but each left and right side of the pedal has its own LFO modulating the time parameter. And yes, for the first time ever, I'm actually gonna sync my delay pedal with MIDI because this has a full-size MIDI in and through. You heard that right. Now, Walrus did send this pedal over early for me to check out before its release, and I said, hey, I love this thing, I'm gonna do a video on it. Do you wanna sponsor the video? And they said, sure. But as per usual, they haven't seen this video before it goes live, so you might be watching this before they've even seen it. But with that out of the way, let's dive into this wild sound of jumping between the feedback paths of Meraki and then put it to practice and actually make some music our mothers would be proud of, I hope. And you know what? Dad, your opinion matters too. So anyway, with that aside, let's go ahead and change this feedback path over to parallel. And for this part, I'm gonna actually leave the MIDI input cable unplugged because it adds a few limitations when you plug it in that I'll get into later, but it also grants a couple other features that you might be into. But for now, I'm gonna just go ahead and leave that unplugged. So this is what it sounds like in parallel mode with both the left and the right set to different times. I mean, you can tell I have the feedback turned way too high up for both of these, right? Basically, in parallel, we're running both left and right at the same time. Both of these can go into a full self-oscillation, but the beauty of the analog Bucket Brigade style chips that are in here, which are the MN3005s, by the way, in case you were curious, they kind of have this beautiful way of like piling onto each other. And they'll start to distort, right? I'm not clipping anywhere. This is just the circuitry in itself kind of clipping around. Right, but if you really kind of just pull this back, it just has this really nice warmth. And you can see this switch here. If I go to sync, it's gonna lock both left and right and just kind of be this parallel stereo Bucket Brigade delay where the time knob's controlling both the left and the right, or you can control each left or right independently. That's kind of where I like to live because you can do some trippier things. But even right now, when it's in this parallel mode and they're synced, I still have my division for the right and my division for the left. So I can make the left a lot slower, or the right I should say, and then the left maybe a little faster. Right, and you can hear that it speeds up a lot on the left. Or we can go like this. And then make it really fast if you like. And you can hear there's a little bit of movement here, right? That's because we have our modifier. You can look at this little flare up here. You can see it starts to move kind of slow. If I hold down our bypass, this will flash. Now I'm choosing the rate of the LFO for our modulator. So if it's really fast, let it go, kind of bring it back. I don't want it to be that fast or that much depth. And again, this is just adding movement to the time knob for us. But the beauty here is because everything is kind of set to different times, especially if we open this up a lot more. Right, we bring this back a little bit. Say we make these really fast. It's just this really pretty kind of like bounce back, right? There's just this constant vibe. And yes, there is a bit of a noise floor. That's not coming from the pedal. It's just coming from my wild routing setup that I have here, especially if I turn up the compressor, which is gonna really bring everything up. You can hear it there, so you can ignore that for now. But where this gets really, really fun is if I start putting this into its independent modes, where I can say, all right, my right is gonna be a little slower than my left. They're both pretty fast right now. And instead of parallel, I'm gonna go into ping pong, which, check this out. This is a good way to kind of understand it. In parallel mode, I'm gonna turn our feedback up just so that it almost starts to self-oscillate. And you can hear it's doing its thing, right? But watch what happens when I switch over to ping pong. Now it's feeding back into itself, but it's going from the left into the right, doing its thing, and then from the right back into the left, doing its thing again, and sending it back and forth. And again, if we were to say, change this up, slow down one side, and then make the other side really fast, left, I'll speed it up. And then we go over to our right, slow that one down. And when I started doing this is when I started to realize I can kind of throw in these loops. If I go into, let's say, left, really slow, right, even slower. I mean, it's doing some wild stuff right now. And you can hear how grungy and just dirty it starts to get, which is something I love. You also have a tone here, which is just like a tilting EQ, kind of emphasize the highs, emphasize the lows, vice versa, push the other side down. But let's put it about here. We'll go to about 2 o'clock, which is the 50-50 wet on here, not noon, which you would expect. It's over at 2. But look, we're here. I play a note. It's going to kind of do a little bit of a loop, but it's kind of starting to blend into this beautiful pad. And I'll turn our right feedback up a little higher. And from here, you can switch it, right? We can go into serial, which is then going to take left and run it into the right. Push that up a little higher. And then you go back to left, turn your mod up. Go to right, turn your mod up. In right, slow this down. Pull this back a little. And when I say slow this down, I'm slowing down the LFO depth to give it the slowest amount of movement. And say right now we're editing the right side. I flip this one over and it goes into random LFO. You can see here, you have sine, square, or random. So the random is just going to give it this beautiful movement. Turn your mod way up. It's almost like this lo-fi tape emulator. But an analog stereo BBD, which is nuts, right? Flip this around. Just hear this beautiful bouncing left and right. I really hope you have headphones on for this. This thing sounds nuts. All right, you hear that sound right there? That's the sound that I started hearing a ton and really wanting to capture. So let's go ahead and replug the MIDI cable in here. And you just heard that, right? So let me tell you kind of what I meant by the downside of Meraki being externally synced. With the MIDI cable plugged in, you get access to almost all controls via MIDI CCs, which is awesome. But the one thing that it does that's kind of a bummer for me is that the time knob almost gets like disabled. It's locked to the tempo of your external sequencer. Makes sense, but what I wish it did was that the time knob would jump between a wider range of divisions with the MIDI cable plugged in. Because when the MIDI clock is being sent to the Meraki, you can only change the time with the divide left and the divide right switches that are right down here. But it gives you 3 settings each, so, you know, and they're independent, so we can kind of still get some cool patterns from it. And who knows, maybe this could be added later, but I'm not sure because this thing is so analog. There's no USB jack on here, not that I noticed or anything like that. But either way, it's still super usable, especially for this way I've been using it, which we'll get into now, which is basically sound coming from the Nord into the Meraki, and I have it all synced up to the Octatrack, right? And then I'm going to grab these weird loops, grab them in here perfectly synced, kind of keep layering them. And the way the routing is going is out of here into here to clock it, and then the through is going into the Digitac to clock to the Octatrack. But all the textures and the mesh and the vibe and all that stuff comes from the Meraki first. So check this out. All right, so let me go ahead and flip this over to Ping Pong, and we're working at 123. It's synced up. I press a note. You can hear it sync to the tempo, right? But I can't change anything on the time knob. You can hear it wants to change, but it doesn't. Even if I go into sync, it's always going to be that, right? You can hear it kind of jumps, but it always reverts back to the tempo at which you're working at. But again, using these here, we can change up what left and right are doing with one another. And you can also tell I have a ton of modulation going. Let me go ahead and lower the rate of our LFO, turn our modulation amount down so it's a little more clean. Right, but again, like I said, we go into time, we slow these down, and I play a chord. In Ping Pong, it's feeding back into itself, right, from left to right, left to right. I'm gonna set our left to a little faster and a little higher feedback. Listen to that already. That is the sickest thing I've ever heard. And this is the texture that I want to grab, right? So I'll just say record. And I'm just grabbing 32 bars, or 32 steps, not bars. And bam, I already grabbed it. I just put a step in here, step here, step here. Step there, step there. Listen to that. And you can tell I got some wild settings. Let's clear this out. That's pretty dope too. So I'm gonna see if I can grab that. So again, this is grabbing 32 steps. Boom, I grabbed it there. Place a step here, place a step there. Clear this out, clear this out, clear this out. Go to our AED, which is gonna choose, edit our sample basically. And I just wanna move the start point a little bit. And if I flip this over, let's say really fast, and I go to a new sound, let's do the classic basin. Lower this a bit. We'll add a little bit of modulation to this, slow this down, and we'll go into parallel. I'm gonna feedback left into right really hard, just to grab texture. And you can already hear it there. Watch, I'll turn our mix all the way up. Track 3. I wanted to really build, really build. Maybe a little faster. All right, check this out. I think I grabbed that. Let's put it to the test. Go to track 3, place down a step. Let's see. Awesome texture that I wanted to grab. Turn our bass up, so it's just texture. That's all I'm looking for. And then track 2, bring that down, bring it up slowly. Just gonna get a little mix on there. Track 1, same thing. Take it out. Maybe I like it without it. Now that I have this recorded in from the Meraki, I can sound this step here. Let's say pitch, we'll just go up by 3. And then on the last one, we'll go down by 5. Time stretch is good. Filter it. Dark reverb. All right, track 4, let's find a bass. I'm gonna go to category. Let's see. Bass. All right, let's, you know what, let's go into parallel. We'll sync them up. Let's go real fast. And then a little bit of modulation, just to give it a little bit of time, right? Faster, and then down an octave. Awesome. Grab this. Awesome. I grabbed that. That actually sounded pretty sick. And then I think I can do the same thing. Let's see if it works. Sometimes it doesn't because the time stretch is a little funky on the Octatrack. Hear what I'm saying? But maybe we can fight this. Let's see what it sounds like with time stretch on. Ah. Hey, it's actually not that bad. It actually kind of works out. Let's turn the distortion up on the bass. Okay, track 3. This kind of worked. I didn't really like it though. We're gonna clear that out. And I'm gonna just go ahead and stop that track. Now, let's go back to the pace some here and find some more strings. But through here, right? So I'm gonna go ping pong. We'll go slow, fast, left, really fast, right, way slower. And what I want to do is capture this funkiness of, lower this, of switching the times, going, why am I never recording when I do the tightest things? Let's try and do it again. Yes, yes, I think I just caught it. I think I just caught it. Please be in there. It's almost there. Okay, we can make that work. Okay. Maybe a little too often. We're going to track 3. I'll say every other bar. And then in our audio editor, we'll move the start point just a little bit here. Let's see what that does. There it is. Yes, please. All right, so we'll go here, do a little live buildup, send that to the delay, feedback. We'll set this to a 16. And then here, I'll turn this all the way up, feedback down. We can't hear it yet. We'll do a little buildup, slowly bring it in. parallel, little less modulation. Actually, you know what? Less feedback, faster. Oh, that's actually slower. So, I mean, you heard it here first, right? The Meraki is super dope. It's $600, might be a little steep, but for that you get a fully analog stereo bucket brigade delay made up of 8 MN3005 chips. I'm guessing the production of the Meraki will probably have to come to an end eventually because I don't think that those chips are being made anymore, right? I mean, I could be wrong. I'd love some more info. If you got it, let me know down below, and also let me know what you think of the pedal down below. But until next time, my friend, you already know the drill. Share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace. Appreciate you.